Just mocked up the drain to the turbo. It all works out great. But what I was really looking for is how to route this starter wire. And it looks like there's the perfect little spot to thread the needle through there. And then it's going to run right next to the motor mount and hook up to the starter. And I think the starter is going to be somewhere in there. So I ordered some hook and loop heat wrapping. It's kind of like the DEI stuff that I have here for the AC line, but it's open like a split loom like this. It's got hook and loop, so you don't have to thread it over the ends. You just wrap it. Comes with metal ties, so you can make sure it's not going to fall apart. So I'm going to metal tie the entire run of this up to here. So here's the starter power and exciter wire. Before I took it off the engine, I made a mark just as it turns the front corner of the engine. So that crossover pipe is like right here, and then as it parallels this power line, it's gonna be right there. So I'm gonna put this wrap from here to just about there. And this stuff is, I think I bought 3/4 inch, quote unquote. And if it's anything like any of the other heat wrap stuff, it should just cut with normal scissors. Well, I wouldn't say like household like craft scissors, but heavy duty stuff. Yeah, cuts real easy. I'll take this. My cut's a lot cleaner than their cut, so I'm going to put my cut up front. Yeah, this must be like 1/2 inch. I may have talked myself out of 3/4, because this is really tight on this wire. Okay, cool. So it's a little short for my mark, so I made that mistake. It's alright. Still be plenty of protection right through here where it matters. Where it really matters. It also came with stainless steel zip ties, or cable ties, what they call them. So I could see those being helpful on you. If you have something that has a lot of bends, then you could put those cable ties there so the hook and loop wouldn't separate. I'm going to go ahead and put 2, maybe 3 on here. And I don't think I'm going to use my tool to tighten them down, but I am going to use the tool to cut it. I just put this oil line for the turbo feed together. This is some old school Russell Dash 4 hose that I had laying around from a past project, and this is a Russell Dash 490. I would suggest not buying any of the small 90s from the cheaper brands, like the Chinese stuff, like Evil Energy, just because I had poor experiences with these small ones breaking really easily, because they're just not made with the same wall thickness and materials. So if I was going to say spend money anywhere on the good fitting, it would be this one. If you're running a 90. If you're just running a straight fitting, like I have over here, the cheap stuff will do just fine. So this guy's going to go there. I've got all that loose intentionally so I don't forget about it. And this hose is just going to be routed through here. I'm going to come down between the header. I'm going to wrap this with some heat wrap. And then right to the oil tee. It runs perfectly through there. And I've got plenty of slack to move it around however I need to get it to clear everything. So I'm digging it. And then this, I'm just going to run some silicone hose for now for the drain. Just 5/8 stuff, but it's a nice straight shot right there, right up to there. So, worst case, I'll tilt the turbo a little bit if it comes down right on the frame rail. If not, then it's just a gradual, nice gradual bend right to the oil pan. So, looks like it's going to work out perfectly. I've got the Explorer throttle cable here, and that's obviously the Ranger one. It's going to come out. So on the chassis side, or the pedal side, that's what we're looking at. So from the inside, you've got to get up there and squeeze these two tangs in and then pop it together. And I believe this just clicks into place. You see the little ledge there? That just clicks into place on the pedal assembly. And then on the other side, it just goes right to the throttle body and the mount for the cable. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that out, pop this one in, and be on my way. There it is. This one has a little bit of a return spring assembly here versus here. So, in the bin, I'll send this guy in. Click, click, clack. I think that goes off something like that. But for now, it's just going to live over here. So inside, it's real simple. I've got an opening at the top of the pedal here. Bring the cable through, and then click that into place. And now, we've got a throttle pedal. I have this wideband gauge and controller. It's from On3. I got it in a package deal with some other Mustang parts that ended up not working for this build. But I'm trying to figure out a spot to take this through the firewall, and I think I found one. So I only really need to pass these two connectors through the firewall, because if we look at the other side of this harness, power, ground, output, and I'm not sure what the fourth wire is, but I'm sure it's probably just a different output. This is all going to connect directly to the engine harness, so I'm going to get power directly from that. And then the other wire here is the wire that actually connects to the sensor. So, like I said, I just need to get those two through the firewall, and I think I found the spot. Right there, there's a blank spot, or a little boss in the firewall. And if we go inside, right here, there was a little retainer clip to keep the firewall insulation in place. And if I peel that down, there's that boss right there. So if you notice the studs kind of offset, I think there's gonna be enough space to drill to the left, top left of this, and put a little grommet in and run that wire right through there. And then at that point, I can bring the wires up into the dash and put it in a gauge pod somewhere up here. So that seems like it's gonna work out great. So there we go. This is a 5/8 grommet, and it just slips over this connector. And to give it a hole big enough, let me start over. The grommet here is big enough for this connector to go over it, and also the hole that the grommet fits is big enough to accept this connector. So that will just slip through there now. And the other one through. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go inside and fish this through because the carpet or the firewall padding is keeping me from going any farther. All right, I got good news and I got bad news. Good news, it's in. Bad news is where I thought it was coming through was completely wrong. So, let's see if I can finagle this all together again. That boss is much lower than that point. That point right there. So, if you use that as a means to pass wires through the firewall, just put it right in the center of it. Because you can see it's working. There's the wires. And this will go up there and keep them in place.